Alright guys, so as promised, I am back with the high impact topics for the JAM Economics exam for 2026. I know that the time right now is very limited, and that is why I have made this video. So let us get right into it without wasting any time. Obviously you can see just a little bit about me. You can pause the video to read it. And moving on, we have the complete subject wise weightage here for the JAM Economics exam. Now this video is not to be confused with the subject wise weightages. I have already made a video on that. I have also posted the complete list of the previous year questions subject wise, and you can watch that video. It is going to be very helpful for your preparation, because the questions are not just listed subject wise, they are also bifurcated into each subtopic that is under each subject. Okay, so if you just feel like you are weak in one particular subtopic, you can just visit that list and you can solve all the previous year questions that have been asked before from that particular subtopic. Okay, so that is why that video is also very helpful for you. Right now what we are going to do is we are going to visit just 10 to 12 topics, or just 5 to 10 topics for each subject that is definitely going to come in the paper, and that will assure you at least 50% of the marks in the entire paper, because these are topics that are asked every single year and will be also asked again, because these make the core of each of the subjects, right? So that is why I have prepared a list for you guys that is going to save you time, because even if you do not have time to cover the entire syllabus, these are the topics that you have to cover and revise. Okay, so you should allot more of your time to these topics. Okay, so let us begin. And before that, we can just see the weightage, that the highest weightage is obviously assigned to microeconomics. I have already covered this, that macro has 23%, maths has 21, then followed by statistics, and the lowest is Indian economy. Okay, so moving on now, this is the list of the high impact topics under microeconomics. Okay, so first of all, the first topic under micro is consumer theory. What do you have to do under consumer theory that you cannot skip? It is going to be the utility theory, the budget, and all of the related concepts to the budget, the Marshallian and Hicksian demand functions. This is a topic from where MCQs are going to be asked, MSQs are going to be asked, and numerical type questions are also going to be asked. For the consumer theory topic, I would just advise you to go through the Examplify notes once they are absolutely free on the website. Just go and get the All India Jam Access series. Okay, so this is going to be very helpful for you, I can assure you that. Then after that, obviously the elasticities, not just the price elasticity of demand, but the income elasticity and all of the other elasticities that have been asked before. You can also see that in the notes itself. Okay, so for example, the input elasticities, right, or all of the other formulae that you have to memorize. Okay, they will fetch you absolutely free marks, because they are very easy formulae, and all of the formulas that are related to the elasticities are also analogous. Okay, so if you just understand what the elasticity is and the concept behind it, you are going to solve every single question that is related to elasticities. Okay, so that is a very important topic again. Then coming to the production theory, so the production curves, all of the curves, you have been taught this in class 12th. Okay, if you do not know this, if you do not have a background in commerce or in economics, go and buy the Examplify notes. I have made all of the curves in a single table where you can revise all of them simultaneously. Okay, then moving on, aside from this, I would say focus more on the cost and the numericals that are related to costs. So for example, the properties of costs, okay, they are also very important for you, because that can solve many numericals, right? And the features, the characteristics of the different curves, okay, how the AC and MC and the AP and MP behave, and how they are related, and how they are opposite but still analogous, right? So all of those things you should memorize, and all of those are covered in these things only. Then obviously the returns to scale, very important topic. Then the profit maximization, there will, you can write this down, there will be numericals asked about the profit maximization, may it be from the market structure part, or may it be directly from the cost or production theory, but there will definitely be numericals on profit maximization. You can write this down. After that, you have general equilibrium, again, not the most important topic, but these are two topics that we cannot skip, which are basically, you have to understand what Pareto efficiency is, you have to understand how to solve a competitive equilibrium numerical. Okay, there is a very high chance that a question on comparative equilibrium is going to be asked. So you have to just understand how to solve the numerical. There is only a single process. If you just understand that, you will be able to solve every single numerical about it. Okay, following that, the welfare theorems, of course. Then in markets, the market types, shutdown points, other features and graphs. Okay, so I have made a table for every single market type, and in that single table there are graphs also, features also, shutdown, everything. So you can visit that, or you can make your own notes about it. And then price discrimination, surplus, the consumer surplus, the producer surplus, and the dead weight loss, very important topic again, cannot be left out. And then game theory, you have Nash equilibrium, mixed strategy equilibrium. These are just the two topics. You can skip all of the other and more advanced types, because these are the ones that are more frequently asked. Okay, so that is why this is a topic that carries a higher impact. And then the Cournot Bertrand duopoly, it is directly mentioned in the syllabus. We cannot skip that. Externalities you can skip if the time is very limited. If not, just look at the features of the public goods, right? The public goods versus the private goods, right? And then all of the types of goods, right? So for example, we talk about the excludable, the rivalrous, right? So that's just these types. It will take you hardly 5 to 10 minutes, right? So after that, the Pigouvian taxes, subsidies, marginal benefits and costs, there can be a numerical on this. There is a very high chance. Okay, so be sure to do all of these topics. So if you compare these topics to the amount of the syllabus that you have, I would say this is hardly 40% of the entire microeconomics syllabus that you have for both JAM and GATE. Okay, so that is why I'm trying to cut your syllabus into half or even less, so that you can focus on the topics that have more chances to be asked. This does not mean that no question from other topics will be asked, but these are more important and will definitely fetch you a lot of marks. Okay, now moving on to macro, national income accounting. There is no bargaining here. You have to do this. You have been taught this in school, so you cannot skip this topic. GDP calculation, you have to practice the numericals. You have to learn how you will treat the different items under the national income. Okay, so then moving on to the consumption functions, the only reason I have included this here is because it is a very easy topic. It will hardly take you 1 to 2 days and you are going to finish it. Okay, so the absolute income hypothesis, life cycle, and the permanent income hypothesis, right? You can learn some theory about the random walk model as well. So it will not take you a lot of time. Okay, just solve 2 to 3 numericals on it and you will be able to understand this topic in as much depth as is required in the exam. Then the Keynesian investment function will take you slightly more time to understand if you do not have a background. But once you understand it, it is also a very easy topic and it can definitely fetch you marks. So I will still recommend you to actually go ahead and learn it. Business cycles, ISLM model, Mundell-Fleming model. I don't have to say anything. Most important topic under macro. You have to do it in great depth and you have to practice questions on it again and again. Inflation and unemployment types, measurement and the formulae. There is definitely one question from either inflation or unemployment. It is mostly a numerical, but if you do it, it is very good for you. Okay, then the growth models, again, forget everything. Do the Harrod-Domer, the knife edge and the solo. You have to do the solo model in the greatest depth. Okay, it is the most important topic under the growth models. Okay, so all the numericals on it, the theory part, you have to understand everything about it, all the concepts around it. So look at the complete macroeconomic syllabus versus this is barely 20-30% of it. And just if you have a complete grasp on this, you will be able to solve majority of the macroeconomics questions and you will fetch a lot of marks from the macro section. Okay, so moving on to stats, probability theory is a topic that you cannot skip. Again, the Bayes theorem is very important. All the even the basic questions like the coin toss questions or the similar type of easier questions are the ones where most of the people make mistakes because they do not focus on it. Okay, so that is why give some time to it, solve those types of questions and you will be able to master it. It is not that difficult, right? Moving on, random variables, expectations, variance, covariance. Again, very important. This is what the stats part is all about. Okay, the majority of the questions are going to be from this part, unless IIT Bombay goes absolutely crazy like IIT Delhi and they put in 4 to 5 questions on regression. So that is something very rare, but probability is definitely going to be the more important part in stats. Then mathematical statistics, you have the properties of estimators and confidence intervals. Just do these and everything around it, but properly. Okay, if you are doing only this much of the syllabus, at least give time to it. Do it properly so that you do not get any question wrong in these parts. Okay, then hypothesis testing, you have the types of errors, tests, comparing parameters, the t, z, f and the chi-square test. There have been questions every single year, almost every year, from these topics. So if you just do this, forget the rest of the numericals. Okay, if you just do these, you will be able to solve many questions. Okay, so basically you have the H naught and then you have the alternate hypothesis, and then how do you move on to solve either the rejection region or the power of test, whatever is asked, right? So these are numericals that you should practice a lot. Okay, then moving on to the final part, which is correlation and regression. The most important things under this is the OLS properties, the classical linear regression model assumptions, and the basics about the goodness of fit. Okay, if you just do this, even that is going to be enough for the regression part, because the level of difficulty of the questions that are asked in the regression part are of two types. Either they are very easy and directly from the properties and you can answer them directly, okay, or they are from the more advanced parts where you will have to spend at least 1 or 2 weeks on the regression parts alone. So that is why I would suggest that you can leave those parts and you can focus more on these, so that you do not at least get the easier questions wrong. All right, then moving on to Indian economy, obviously you just can see the complete graph here. I have made the complete chart for the important parts and you can see all of these. I'm not going to be wasting a lot of time here because there is nothing much to talk here. So you just have, so what you can do is either follow my Indian economy notes, because I have covered the complete syllabus in very short there. Okay, so you do not have to waste much time on it. Either ways. So moving on to maths, preliminaries and functions. If you do not have a background in maths, these are topics that you should completely cover. First of all, sequence and series, convexity and concavity, the graphs, functions and basics. Okay, so you are going to have to cover, like for example, you have to find the inverse of a function or some other types of questions that are just basics in functions. If you pick up any video on functions, these topics will definitely be covered, and the rest of it also you have to cover. Then moving on to differential calculus, limits, continuity and differentiability is a topic that you cannot skip. Other things you can skip, but these are the most important here. Then linear algebra, the most important topic under maths. Okay, you have to cover it in the greatest depth. There is no bargaining here. So the properties of matrices, elementary operations, linear equations, independence and rank, then determinants, the properties of determinants, and the types of formulae that we have to solve the determinants very quickly. Like there is a very common question that solve the determinant of this matrix to the power 50, right? So there are some formulae there, so very easy, but still very important. Okay, so then we have eigenvectors and eigenvalues, then we have the eigenspace and the vector space. So those are also be topics that you have to cover. Then finally we have the quadratic forms, where you just have to completely cover the definiteness part. Okay, the semi-definiteness and the complete, you have to cover this part. You have to understand how you have to solve this and what this is all about. Okay, moving on to optimization, local and global optima, linear programming is again a question where at least 1 or 2 questions are asked every single year. Okay, so these are absolutely free marks for you, right? Then graphical solution, matrix formation and the rest of it, right? So as I have already said, that the reason behind me making this video is so you can maximize your marks even if the time is limited. Okay, so for example, if you are starting your preparation right now and you at least have a basic background in these subjects, what you can do is you can very quickly cover all of the high impact topics and then dedicate all of the remaining time to these topics, revise them, solve tests, okay, solve complete tests, and simultaneously keep practicing the basic questions that come from these high impact topics. I will be making assignment on each and every high impact topic. Okay, on every single topic that I have just covered here, I will be making an assignment on all of them, right? So that is what I am going to try and do, and I'm going to put in a lot of effort for you guys, and I have been putting a lot of effort for you guys. So I would expect you to do the same, and I would expect you to finish this last lap of the jam exam with as much time as you can dedicate to it, right? So again, I hope this video helps you. The PDF of this is going to be uploaded on the Telegram channel. I would suggest you to join the Telegram channel as fast as possible and start your revision, start revising these important topics as soon as possible. Okay, best of luck and see you soon.